Dear guests, Chat GPT. We. Oh, actually, no, everything has already been set up correctly. We can start. So, this is the closing conference event. So, first of all, I'm really happy to see you here, and I believe that this is always good to behave like in the Mass. So, actually, uh, the priest should actually hold a good talk for the ones who are actually present without focusing on the ones who decided to leave in their sermon. So, in my sermon, I will now thank you very much for being here. I know that a few colleagues are also outside dismantling their booths, but you also have the chance to actually go over this session again tonight. Then Dr. Barkley is on her way here. She decided to come with the train, the federal train. Why? Why? What do you mean? Why are you laughing? So she decided to come with the train, with the regional express. So if I had understood correctly, and you're actually laughing again. So I believe that there was some issue with her train. So we have already thought about all possible scenarios when she shows up 15 minutes later, 30 minutes later, and so on. Anyway, long story short, um, so she is coming, and we know that the mayor has already sent somebody to fetch her, so she will be here anytime soon. So let's throw now a look. Let's take a look at everything that we've done over the past 2 days. Thank you very much for your feedbacks. So, and you probably receive an email with the feedback form. So they are questions which are easy to understand. It's an either or set of questions. So we would like you to actually send it back to us so that we can improve any possible gray zones. So I see that Dr. Barkley isn't here yet. Anyway, thank you very much to many, many groups, the media who have been covering what has been going on, which is obviously not that easy. It can be scandalous at times when we talk about delicate topics and we talk about financial means. So, thank you very much to all the 500 people representing the different institutions that have taken an active part in the success of our Congress. Thank you very much to the teams of the city of Mannheim, of the region Baden-Württemberg and BGT, and the many university students who have been supporting us. This is a very nice tradition that we have in the institution, in the training institutions, to support prevention. So actually, they could get in free of charge. To foster those topics. So we're very, very happy to be actually be here and get the chance to meet you all in person after such tough times, after the pandemic and everything that we have had to weather. So thank you very much. Most of all to our hosts, hosting partner, the city of Mannheim and the region of Baden-Württemberg, our partners, so the Propeka, Weißering and GIZ. Thank you very much to you all. And now that we can recall all the different contexts, it is my task to sum up. I will start off with what I said in the opening speech. So we need to focus more on children as a society, as a civil society, as a state, as institutions, because they are our future. Therefore, I believe that this is the most important take-home message from this 28th Congress. So, children and all the aspects that pertain to them. Welcome very much to Ms. Katarina Barley. So I have already told everyone the reason why you're just showing up now. So you came here by train. Everybody started laughing when I said the regional train. They were laughing even more. Anyway, so thank you very much from all my heart to everybody who has showed up and who has been supporting us. So from the content viewpoint, I would like to go back to the declaration of our city, Mannheim Declaration. So we obviously, I'm not going to go over it in detail, but we are going to comment on the declaration that was published last night. So, 5 minutes, please, over to you, dear Professor Kerner. So, thank you very much, dear guests. The declaration is part of our tradition of declarations connected to the institutions and the state. Actually supporting the shaping of such a document. Therefore, we decided to entitle it to the city of Mannheim. So this time, we decided to tackle a number of topics. So the situation, the starting point is already quite complex itself. Therefore, we need to focus on crises and preventions. Therefore, the declaration is a summary of everything that we've talked about and that was reported and covered by the media, so that all the citizens that couldn't come here can actually read the document and make up their mind of their own with further details, thanks to the expertise that has supported us in dealing with complex subject matters impacting the institutions, our society, and everybody as individuals. That are the main focus points. So we have worked on this with 11 experts, and you can obviously download the declaration. So thank you very much to everybody who contributed. Gina Wallinger, first and foremost, who actually revised the final version thereof. Thank you to the partner organization, the cities that have already been mentioned and that I will not repeat again. So the focus here is on crisis. As we said, this is a situation in which we need to take into account the disruptions that have been developing under our eyes or before our eyes. So we have heard time and again that this is connected to a certain level of expectation of possible catastrophes. So probably this is the expectation of some people of our society as well, so fellow citizens. So this is something that we need to take control over somehow. So the Mannheim Declaration is fluid. What do we mean by that? we take into account a number of scenarios and expectations, hopes, but also threats. There are a number of crises that entail quite a few points, referring back to biology, for example, like plants that start growing and then a disruption that probably will come across and that will totally change the biology of the plant that stemmed from the seeds, and such plant will never be the same. There will be a sort of cascade effect, and so it's like a domino effect, an effect that we know. So who actually was a kind of game that we played as children. So we need to identify who kicked over the first domino piece of the puzzle, and then we will not know what that will give way to. So from a very concrete viewpoint, we need to try and understand what will happen. Then the war in Ukraine, Putin, Xi Jinping, and the influence that China has been developing at a financial level and beyond all over the world, and the partners of the Prevention Congress and of the Mannheim Declaration think that resilience should be further strengthened. So resilience in society overall, in the different subgroups, and as single citizens. So it is important to stay positive, notwithstanding all the issues, so that we can manage such situations at best, whilst staying positive in a cohesive way. So maybe a little provocative ideas. So the social media. So we need to try and understand how we can go about it, thanks to ChatGPT. So in a fluid way, as we said, in the very first day when Mr. Marks talked about this tool in his opening remarks. So the Mannheim Declaration is actually identified with 3 chapters with programmatic points. The details can actually be further analyzed when downloading the document. So please do give your feedback and trust yourself, so that we can improve and tackle further points, should that be the case. Thank you very much to all of you who are sitting here with us in the room and who work in all possible institutions protecting our society, the police and hospital facilities, emergency services. So, of course, you are the ones who will have to face situations first hand. Thank you very much, because the picture is not becoming any easier to deal with. Thank you very much, Professor. So before we move on to Ms. Barkley, I would like to touch upon a couple of points. So Hayo Zeppelt and Jan Hempel were awarded with a prize because they actually created a fantastic report pertaining to the topics that we have tackled in the sports industry. Please do go and check out their reports. And then we have also our video clip challenge about solidarity, tolerance, and humanity. Are they just keywords, or are they to be seen? So they also young adults and children were awarded, and then the poster awards. And we will let you know more about it. However, these are the two winners of the poster awards. And dear Ms. Barley, the floor is yours. Thank you very much. The floor is mine. Wow. Yeah, that was expressed with a regional wording, stated Professor Barclay. So thank you very much, and thank you very much for your patience. I do understand why you were laughing. Please do follow me on Twitter, and that is where I post all my shenanigans on the German trains. So I had 30 minutes delays, and still I think that I still managed in an acceptable way. So this would be the closing remarks to this 28th Prevention Congress, or this is an international stage with an incredible palette of representatives and speakers, and so the topics that we have taken into account, the expertise, the experiences, the know-how is absolutely impressive, and it actually puts together all possible levels. So the regional one, the local one, the federal one, the international one at a European level, as we said. So those different areas are areas in which, unfortunately, Europe is not the main actor. Actually, our potential is quite limited. So we have heard that we are chased by these multiple crises. So the climate crisis, the pandemic, the war in Ukraine, just to quote a few. And we have had to face two of them from night to day. So in particular the pandemic and climate crisis. Anyway, we needed to draw the lessons, and we were surprised in a way and speechless. We were speechless. And of course, that is a reason why this conference is important. So prevention, what do we understand as such a concept? So prevention is to avoid negative things from happening, or actually trying to be as prepared as possible, as well equipped as possible for such events. And that is what I do at a European level as well, to try and act in a coherent way. So obviously those crises do not stop before national from national lines. So of course we cannot stop such crises also at a European level, but we can try and be active, because as we said, crises know no borders. And So we created a platform for exchange of good practices, supported by the European Union, so that we can limit a crisis before they escalate any further. Of course, to be more empowered and to actually include such topics at the very heart of the European agenda. Of course, when we move from a national level to a European one, we need to learn quite a few things. First, humbleness, because we are not actually the always the best, and we learn quite quickly that doing things our way isn't always the best solution. So we need to take into account aspects, for example, that are connected to the war in Ukraine, assets that were frozen. So we see the example of Italy, mafia, and all the problems that might arise. Jean Monnet, one of the founding fathers of the European Union, studied that Europe would actually be strengthened in crises, and that is exactly what happens. The European Union grows stronger and bigger through and every single crisis. So, for example, global financial crisis, and then we readdress towards the union when again the pandemic from a healthcare viewpoint and the war actually puts us in front of the same question again, which is the question of cooperation. So I believe that we should do a bit more and actually find the time to understand what works fine and what doesn't, and we need to be given the competencies and be conveyed the competencies that we need as skills to actually be as active as we can, and then watching the videos and reading the documents, I found again some of my basic values coming up time and again, in particular solidarity, which is needed when fighting crises. So the basic idea of European Union relies upon solidarity, and that's exactly what we need when we talk about prevention and actually managing crises and crisis prevention in general. So, natural catastrophes, pandemics, we should be ready and well equipped to react together in a solidar way to help out those who need help. Actually, the multiplicity of the topics that fall under the umbrella of prevention is so big that cannot be summed up in a few words. And then the coronavirus pandemic, for example, so public health care, and then drug addiction prevention. When we talk about cannabis, for example, these are topics that need to be communicated in a better way, more awareness raising activities with the fellow citizens in general, so that we can actually avoid further health related problems from breaking out. So we will have more competencies based on what happened in the past, thanks to the pieces of information that we have been exchanged, all the documents, all the materials, and so that we can be active in an emergency situation as well, so that we can actually offer help where help is needed. And then, as we have said, also thinking back to the vaccine production. However, I just wanted to touch upon that. And in my day-to-day work it is important to engage in when taking into account the bigger picture connected to prevention. So, in our relationships amongst cities, among states and nations at an interpersonal level, we need to move on. We need to leave any prejudice behind and work on a common culture so that we can have an effect or in the long run, so that we can face Russia together as European Union, so that we can rebuild maybe a new connection to that safe. So the European Union states are working together to stop radicalization behaviors. Obviously, this is not a new phenomenon, but as you said, with the social media, this is always part of the public debate. So online again, and as part of our network, of course, you can all contribute. In the European Union in 2015, we have set up the Radicalization Awareness Network. This is a network with 6,000 experts from the industry Europe-wide. Some of them are here with us. So research, practical analysis, police officers, and so on and so forth, prison staff, for instance. We try and learn something more to understand better, to grasp why people are more inclined in some cases to such radicalization behaviors. Let's think about France, for instance. So Europe can foster prevention in a very concrete way. Even things that might look theoretical can actually be unfolded as very practical, as he said. So my main goal is for the Union to stay democratic and based upon the state of law, on the legal framework, so justice and media work so that we can fight corruption. Corruption, once again, as we all know, this takes us to big disappointments and catastrophic events, as we know. So think about the delegation that we sent to Greece. So obviously, we had to take into account the great corruption network, as you might know from the media. So people who are privileged just because they are somebody's nephew or somebody's cousin.
So we have to fill the deficits that we have in terms of the rule of law, so that we can prevent this cascading effect. And this, of course, would contribute to increasing the safety and security. The European Union plays a very important role in financial terms in adopting preventive measures. Considering that well, the idea is that the European Union allocates funds in a very punctual way to the 27 member states, especially in preventive measures, especially during the period of pandemic and also during the floods, also next to my home. Well, this was a catastrophe that strongly hit our region and changed the topographic conditions of our country. And in this case, the European Union has allocated a solidarity fund after the great floods. And this fund is one of the most important EU fund for rebuilding after catastrophes. And this is very important because if we want to learn from catastrophes and crises, we need to draw lessons that allow us to become better. And in Europe, we have a procedure whereby countries hit by catastrophes can apply for financial resources, both preventively and after a catastrophe. The cooperation between the relevant authorities should be encouraged in order to raise awareness and in order to strengthen the prevention in case of catastrophes. The idea is to provide coordinated and fast aid and support. The procedure so far has been allocated about 1.3 billion euro and 2 billion for the rebuilding fund. And in terms of budget, it's 5 times as high as in the previous 10-year period. This shows that we are fully aware of the crises that have happened more frequently in the past 10 years. With rescue campaigns and with healthcare professionals, with the provision of drugs and temporary aid European citizens. Since 2001, this procedure has been used more than 600 times, both in and outside of Europe. For example, the earthquake in Syria, the war in Ukraine, COVID, and the other catastrophes that we've recently experienced in Europe. Coordinated reaction at a European level plays a fundamental role internationally, and this is important in order to avoid a waste of resources. Well, obviously, within the member states, a coordinated reaction is needed. As an EU politician, well, I was invited as an EU politician, but I was also the chairperson of the Samaritan Bund with 1.5 million members. And from this perspective, I can say that the catastrophe that we experienced was a sort of alarm for many about the natural catastrophes that are happening often with a view because of the climate change. And so we have absolutely to improve and increase the cooperation among the relevant stakeholders. In order to be better prepared for such events in the future, we must invest. Since 2019, the European Union has set up the Rescue EU Reserve with airplanes, with medical supplies and mobile laboratories. We hope that this will contribute to providing aid in case of catastrophes in Europe. Prevention should be considered as a long-term investment in the safety, security and resilience of the European Union. We need a comprehensive prevention strategy at a European level that covers all the relevant topics. Only a coordinated and integrated approach can reduce the impact of the crisis so that Europe can become safer safer and more resilient location. The European Union has been confronted with a lot of crises, and changes were made progressively in order to make Europe more future-proof. One of the sectors where improvement is urgently needed is the critical infrastructure field with IT systems. And in this case, we need to invest on it to increase the resilience. From the viewpoint of the European Parliament, I can tell you that this is that we are regularly victims of hacker attacks. And for this reason, we need to make a huge effort, because this is a threat which will become more serious. In Germany and in Europe, this has become a hot topic, especially the risks coming from outside of the European Union. They should not be underestimated, and for this reason, I'm very happy to see that this was one of the topics discussed at the Munich conference, and in a panel we discussed with an American team. We had to learn from others, and not only from the US, but also from Israel, which has become a victim of many such attacks. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is up to Europe, it is up to the individual member states to coordinate themselves. It's also up to the community level, to every single individual to work together. How can we behave if we have a blackout, a tornado, or a nuclear catastrophe in our environment, in our surroundings? Well, in our region, there's a nuclear power plant that had to be switched off many times. Are we prepared for such an event? In the past few years, we've seen an increase in such events, and we see that the trend is going upwards, and we can no longer postpone our interventions. If we look at the climate change, we need to act in the short term. We must make the population more resilient. We must inform the population much more, train the population. In Germany, we have something that other European states do not have. And this is voluntary work. And you see that our volunteers provide a great contribution, for example, in working with children and teenagers. The fact of raising awareness about the risks and dangers, they inform in a target-oriented way, but this is really very important, and I'm very proud of that, because our region is the #1 region, because more than 50% of these activities are provided by volunteers. We are even ahead of Bavaria. The European Union will continue to play its role in promoting research and development in crisis prevention through investments in innovative projects and programs with new preventive approaches and best practices. The collaboration with experts and research institutes. Many are here, present here today, in order to develop evidence-based measures and in order to provide long-term results. This Prevention Congress here in Mannheim has brought about so many insights and important information, but most of all, it gathers human beings to talk about a crisis. Only together we can cope with a larger crisis, and the example of the pandemic and the financial and climate crisis shows that if only a few experts deal with that, we cannot be successful. All of us have to be involved. And as I said, I'm I was very happy to see the word that was projected on the screen previously. Solidarity is paramount for the prevention in the whole of Europe. Thank you very much, and I wish you good luck with your work. Thank you very much, Ms. Barley, for this European perspective. And it shows once again how good we tackled all the different aspects. We moved from a communal to a state to an international dimension. We also had specialists in the field. And by the way, we have the EFOS here, which is the most important organization in the field, who held its general meeting here in Mannheim. Well, of course, we have there are also members from outside of the European Union. But well, this shows very clearly that solidarity is a very important keyword. We also talked about evidence-based approach, and we saw, for example, that well, if we simply look at a crisis breaking out without doing nothing, well, of course, we cannot make progress. And that's why we need evidence-based approaches. Well, of course, also our ministries have always insisted on having evidence-based results. We have also learned that evidence-based doesn't simply mean that someone comes and says something in terms of scientific results. Prevention often works in terms of reflection. What do we know about that? What can we do? And we have to make decisions. We're thinking about what we can do based on what we have instead of laying back and waiting. So thank you again, Ms. Barley, for your contribution. My name is Michael Stubchen. I'm the Minister of the Interior of Brandenburg, and I'm also the chair of our Prevention Commission. I'm very happy to host for the first time in 2025 the German Prevention Congress in Cottbus. Prevention well, is although I'm responsible for the police, a great focus for me. It's much better to prevent a crime rather than punish a crime. In our region, we have a lot to do with domestic violence, sexualized violence against children and teenagers, mobbing and discrimination. For this reason, your work is paramount. Thank you very much for your conference in Mannheim, and I'd like to invite you to the next year's Congress in Cottbus. Well, we are in a transition phase, and our people are all curious, and we looking forward to the next phase. Well, security and safety in moments of change. This will be the claim of next year's Congress. I'm looking forward to hosting you in 2025 for the German Prevention Congress in Cottbus 2025. Right, now let's play soccer. No, we don't, but let me use an expression that we often use in football. Before the football game and after the football game, because we have a sort of transition and baton switch from Mannheim to Cottbus. So Christian Specht. Yes, dear Erich Marks. Well, we did not use the umbrella. I received this umbrella in Hanover, so let me give this umbrella, which is a baton. We did not find any baton, so let me hand it over to Cottbus. We are going to have a lot of insights and presentations, especially under the claim prevention in moments of change. And so I'm looking forward to the next German Prevention Congress, and I'm very happy to hand over the baton to you. And well, we will meet again in Cottbus under the same conditions. So we are going to talk about against the climate change, coal issue, and so we will meet again in Cottbus. I'd like to take the chance of thanking you again. I've managed to talk to some of you and not to all of you, because there were so many. You will be exhausted after so many presentations, but finally we managed to have a real Congress after so many hybrid formats. I'd like to thank the team that has organized this event, the regional police, which is not fully represented now, but I'd like to say thank you to you for the great support, and also thanks to the community, to the municipality, and to the police. By working together, you achieve really great results. And then, of course, a great thank you to my team, the Prevention Congress, Benz Kubert, who arranged the entire thing with a lot of insights, and then the DPT team, of course. So 28 congresses, and this is a proof for the quality and the continuity that Claudia Heinzelmann, Erich Marks have always provided to keep this Prevention Congress alive. So a great round of applause for all those who are in the background and who have made this Congress possible. So with that, that's it. So, well, we also talked about fire brigades and whether the intervention of yesterday was planned. But, well, I can say that everything went well. It was not planned, but, well, and a person came by and said she saw some smoke behind the lorry, but well, thanks to prevention, the Bundesgartenschau was extremely successful and nothing happened. So thank you very much for organizing this Congress during the Buka. And then, well, I cannot but wish you a good trip back by train. And if the railway does not allow you to go back home, you can spend a couple of days more in Mannheim. So thank you very much again for your work, which is of paramount importance for us as municipalities and for the entire society. So thank you, and I know that you have a long tradition, and we all can benefit from your expertise. Thank you. Thank you. My name is Tennis Kenton. I work in the office of the mayor, whom you have just seen. He could not join, unfortunately, but he's looking forward to the German Prevention Congress. Well, first of all, full respect for what you have achieved here in Mannheim. Cottbus is a smaller city, but with our magic wand, we will be able to achieve great results. So the claim of next year's Congress is prevention in a period of change. And of course, we will also focus on social issues, on social drivers, and well, all these topics will be taken into account. Also considering that we are a region on the border, and so there are many other issues to consider. You've never been so far to the east of Germany, and so thank you for choosing our city as the next Congress venue. Great. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think everything has been said. Let me look at the screen. So it's 3:58, just a couple of minutes before 4. So I cannot but thank you again and wish you a good trip back home. So stay healthy and see you soon. Bye-bye.